Say good evening, Munir. I hope that you're okay. So my name is Nzuzu Ndabezita, currently embarking in retail management, and this assignment is for retail operations management. So what we're about to indulge in right now, as we speak, is my should I call it my assignments rather? Yes, my assignments involving my intellect, self opinions, and reflection of the coursework that we've done throughout this specific semester. So, starting with the first question would be which topics really stood out for me the most? I would have to say it was through from topic one up until topic 5B. But we will get later on to those specific topics as we go on further. So the one thing that really stood out to me within such key concepts that was covered within the last topic, within the first topic, my bad, would include starting with the basics and the fundamentals in terms of retailing would be the introduction to retail operations, understanding the concepts of what is exactly is retailing. The activities that are there of selling goods and services and products to the public, usually in small amounts for their own use, which also includes how it also encompasses the business activities within the daily activities of a business to make sure that it reaches its daily targets. This could encompass daily targets. This could encompass in terms of strategic and objective targets and improvements that have been made and evaluations and reflections that have been covered within those daily targets that are there. Understanding the concepts of retailing even on its own. Then we also go into the elements of the functions of a retailer, understanding such customs in terms of understanding the type of customers that you are required to observe as a retailer, understanding their desires, their preferences, their needs, basically. Understanding what a retailer needs to do in terms of strategic management and in strategic planning, and how to accommodate and fulfill those needs of the customers, or should I say, prospects rather. Understanding how also a retailer goes into the aspect of not just being a a, a, a final retailer, but understanding that it does not also sell raw materials, but it rather also sells that it also sells final products that have been cultivated and been through certain processes and testings to make sure that the product that is being sold has been organically evaluated and ready to be sold to specific customers as a whole. You also understand how a retailer also goes into the aspect of actually diving into buying such wide products from different wholesalers and coming into a retail space to sell only the best products that the retailer has gained from these wholesalers, because it also falls part of the strategic management in terms of course, you want to sell the best products as a retailer to customers, and that's what will basically entice customers in buying the best products. You also understand how the concept of how a retailer also does the performance of being a buyer and a seller simultaneously. Understanding, like I said, their target markets, understand the needs of the target market in order to know what is actually required to be fulfilled within this gap, and attaining, or should I say, acquiring in acquisitions, in attaining the right products in order to fulfill this gap. That's how you basically understand how a retailer operates in terms of the institutional capacity of understanding its retail strategic plan in fulfilling such things and such gaps in such markets. Um, you also understand how a retailer also keeps products and services within easy reach for customers, how to make it more convenient for customers to come back or come to that retailer specifically. And there's a lot of things that actually dive into this, especially with understanding how a retailer can provide convenience for the customer in terms of parking, in terms of service that they will receive as soon as they enter the store, in terms of even the design layout of a specific store. As soon as you enter a store, the one thing that you would expect as a customer, especially if you're going to buy certain products within this specific retailer, is that you want to find things within easy access, right? For example, I'll give you, let's say for a store like Checkers, that you, as soon as you enter the facilities, as soon as you're done parking, you get outside the car and you're about to enter the retail store, the first thing that you would expect is that you want trolleys to be outside, lined up, queued up, ready for the customer to take a trolley as soon as they enter the store, because they're in the impression that, okay, I've got a trolley now. That means that I'm going here to buy certain products and I'm going to need a trolley for holding whatever things that the customer is going to buy. That's the first thing of understanding how you provide convenience to a customer in such a retail format, should I say. One thing that also really stood out to me is understanding the difference between a retailer and a wholesaler. You understand how a wholesaler provides products and services that are either sold to the retailer for further selling, or it's sold to customers directly at a cheaper price. A wholesaler could include like your Nike factory. I'd assume that would be a wholesaler. Understanding the cost of products and how they are differentiated between a retailer and a wholesaler. Like I said, a wholesaler will always be less than the retail price, because retail prices are also calculated according to retail markups. That's the first instance. Understanding competitive prices in terms of competition that they face within that specific diverse market. Understanding what would make a retailer set prices to this level, because they also want to be competitive within that market. Understanding how that also combines into the differences of a retailer and a wholesaler. You also understand that how a wholesale business always has direct contact with the manufacturer, and that's one of the difference between a retailer and a retailer and a wholesaler, is that a retailer has to work on pricing to attract customers, where wholesalers, they don't have to do all those things. They just work closely with the manufacturer or the retailer, and the retailer is basically the customer for the wholesaler, which obviously retailers will always need wholesalers, because that's where they source their products from, that's where they acquire their products. Such as also understanding how a retailer needs to make their products more appealing, where products have to become more visible to the customers. As soon as the customer sees a product, they already are attracted to the products, or enticed rather to the products that will make them, allure them to purchase or buy this product. There's a lot of things and mechanisms and measures that come into place in being a retailer. Understanding the perception and the perceptive of the customer, on how to gain and attract this customer. Also understanding that you also need to manage a lot of things, especially with such components that involve selling prices. That's the key difference that really stood out to me in understanding the mechanics, should I say, of being a retailer. You can also look into the understanding of a product, the product retailing and the service retailing, understanding on both aspects that what product retailing does and what it offers, and what service retailing offers even on its own. You understand that in a product retail, obviously you're speaking about a specific product, a specific tangible thing that requires to be evaluated to produce a quality material of that product and its purpose, rather. Understanding the cost factors that was involved in producing such a product. But in service, you only get something that is necessarily intangible, and its timeliness, understanding the nature of how people are involved in providing that service, and understanding how a service is it's more employee related in order to provide the quality of that service. So how do you basically assist someone to the core with the basic needs that they require from you? Um, you understand that also there's a difference between the relationship between the product retailer and how customers also established um, a relationship with the product. Understanding how customers also develop a relationship with this specific retailer. Understanding how a customer gains this, should I say, relationship rather, with equating to how many times a customer can visit the store. Understanding why the customer also frequently visits the store. All these mechanisms that establish what product retailing is as a whole as well. You know, while you also understand that services cannot be tangible, and they are intangible in fact and cannot be stored, but rather it is a service that is being provided. Understanding that there's also a level of standardization in terms of the type of services you provide within service retailing as well. So that was a huge difference and an open mindedness for me to understand how these two key factors are very different, and how they can also coincide with with being a specific retailer, understanding the type of retailer that you are as a store or as a service provider. You know, um, we also look into the differences of the marketing mix. This would include obviously your four P's, which is your price, your product, your place as well, your promotions, understanding how a retailer uses these four P's in order to become a institutional retailer and becoming a holistic retailer rather, that will also enhance the attraction towards sales, attaining more customers, the type of merchandise that they sell as a retailer, understanding how all these important factors come into play. Understanding how to promote your products, understanding how to place your products, understanding the physical location of your stores. Is it accessible? Is it not accessible? You speak about price as well. Pricing is a huge thing, because people, um they want something, they want the value for money, basically. That's what they want. And as a retailer, you also got to provide that thing for them, where you produce a product as the retailer, and they must see the value of the money that they're paying for as a consumer, so that so that you understand that there's complete customer satisfaction at that point. There's products information at that point, understanding what that product is about, and what it informs the customer as to how you can use the product as well. There's a lot of factors that come into play with understanding these things, and obviously you get the other P's that involve people, your processes, your physical evidence, where they produce such key factors with being a specific retailer as an entity as well. So that was basically, as a whole, one of the things that I really, really grasped and understood in terms of retailing as a concept, as a construct, and how there are different types of ways of retailing. There's also the aspect of how there are emerging trends in retailing that involve now your e-commerce systems, or e-commerce retailing, should I say. How now retailing has become an e-commercialized platform, where now you have retail stores that are online. Understanding how that specific dynamic works within a retail, you know um and I believe that a online retailer is a concept rather that has been digitalized. It has been well thought of in terms of process, visibility, websites that have been used, um visibility is I feel like it's also the most important, because your store has to be advertisable. It has to be appealing as well. It must have the seamless experience of understanding specific websites or specific apps, such as the Checker 6060 app, where as soon as you go in, you understand that there's the search button, so you understand that there's something that you're looking for, that you possibly want as the customer, and there is the visible variations of this specific product, and there's visible information about the product. There is ingredients about the product that you're specifically looking for, and you understand that there's also pricing of the product that you're also looking for. Um, so this, even as an aspect of, even on its own, has been a game changer within the industry. You also understand that there is this the payment system, or the payment systems that are now have been implemented by retailers, on how it must be a seamless thing that will allow customers to pay for certain products, and there has to be trusted payment gateways that are well known by customers, that must also be implemented within a retail store. Because obviously now you're talking about the sensitivity of a customer's payment information, where there's been cases of fraud as well, which may be a barrier, should I say, to a customer, because of the not so trusted payment gateway that has been offered by the retailer to the customer. So you have to also understand those dynamics, and understanding the trust factor of implementing recognized payment gateways, entrusted payment gateways, because this is information that is now being drawn from the customer and being used by the customer and entrusting by the customer to pay a certain amount for this specific product, you know. And I feel like there shouldn't also be a relationship with the retailer, in terms of the retailer having its own payment gateway, or choice of payment gateway, should I say, that is manufactured within the retailer. So I always say that the retailer should also implement specific payment gateways that are recognized, which are external but implemented within the retail store, so that there's no connection between the payment gateway operation and the retailer, so that at least the information of the customer relies within the payment gateway operation, and it has no further information towards the retailer. So that means that you'd also be reducing the amount of fraudulent risks of personal information of customers, So there's a lot of intricacies that come to it when you understand the retailing concept as a whole. Analysis. So situational analysis, from my understanding, is basically understanding the situation of where a retailer is situated at. You know what I'm saying? Where the situation, or its environment rather, on how it influences the specific retailer that is within that environment. So retailers obviously have to collect and interpret data from its external environment, and understanding how they can gain an advantage, how they can gain an edge within its environments, understanding what type of customers that are there within its environments, understanding how an effective situation analysis becomes effective. That's the right word. Effective in terms of the current position of the retailer, even within itself. Like I said, this also involves the analyzing of internal and external factors within a situation analysis. And you also have to understand what is the purpose rather of the situation analysis, because this has to provide with the following answers, understanding that the retailer has to ask themselves that where are they now as a retailer, and how did they get there within that specific location. You have to understand, okay, so we are here now. Where are we heading in terms of our objectives, our targets, our mission statements? Understanding all of those intricacies that will define or rather answer these specific questions within a situational analysis and understanding how effective a situation analysis is. Um, you also have to understand how what can be changed now within the type of location that a retailer is specifically embarked in. And there's a lot of factors that come into it in understanding situation analysis, and these are just the internal factors, rather, in terms of questionings of where a retailer is within a situation analysis. And then you get your external factors. Your external factors are things that we are looking within the macro environment. The macro environment includes your political environment, your economic environment, your social cultural environment. You're also looking at your technological environment. You're looking at your legal environment, and then you're also looking at your ecological and geographic factors, or should I say environments, rather, things that actually affect businesses and how business can is basically guided on how to operate as a retailer within such confines. You know what I'm saying? Um, and retailers really need to be aware of these things, because you understand that what is basically encompassed within this specific environment is your customers, and the external factors really affect the customers in terms of your political environments, where you also have to understand what legal procedures or what legal boundaries that a retailer can operate in, how legal boundaries also affect employees within such a department like this. When it comes to external factors, you also have to understand your economic factors, understanding your tax rebates, understanding the interest rates, understanding the exchange rates for international customers or international customs, in terms of a retailer to a retailer importing and exporting goods. All these factors that come into play in understanding how this basically affects employees, and employees, which is being the customers of a retailer. So there's a lot of also intricacies that also fall parts into that, and understanding the situation analysis, which is very, very imperative to me, rather, and understanding how a retailer is supposed to operate within such confines, understanding how these things can necessarily implement or affect, rather, a retailer as a whole. But basically, these are the two topics, should I say, that really stood out for me. Um, within the retail operations management, yes, there are other factors where you look at your pricing strategies in terms of understanding the other slides that were incorporated within our retail operations management module. You also understand how retailing location also works within its confines as well. There's just a lot of factors that really, really come into play in understanding how a retailer operates within its environment, or should I say, in how a retailer. Looking into application theory. Now, the four topics that I chose from the module was pricing strategies, retail location, retail space layouts, and retail operations management. Going into pricing strategies. In South Africa, Checkers, which is part of Shoprite Group, it demonstrates the importance of pricing in retail through its balance between affordability and quality. Now, positioned in the middle market, Checkers uses pricing to attract customers, increase profits, and reinforce its image as a premium yet affordable retailer. Now, through promotions such as Extra Savings and the Checkers 60/60 app, the company applies a cost competition and demand oriented pricing strategies. Basically, this is their competitive edge. Now, factors such as competition, location, and product type influences its prices, while compliance with the South African Competition Act that ensures fair pricing. Now, by using digital channels for personalized discounts and real-time price adjustments, Checkers effectively applies pricing strategies that enhance customer satisfaction and profitability in a competitive real retail environment. Okay, now looking into retail location, right? Pick n Pay demonstrates the importance of location in retail through its careful selection of store sites that ensure customer accessibility and profitability. Now, the company uses a multi-format location strategy, including a mall-based supermarket, a standalone convenience store, and community outlets to reach different income groups before opening a store. That is very, very smart of Pick and Pay to do, which means that they're basically targeting the different types of customers in different customer locations, basically, when we actually look at it. Now, Pick and Pay also conducts feasibility studies assessing population demographics, economic conditions, and competition to select optimal trading areas. For example, its store in Maponya Mall in Soweto benefits from high foot traffic and strong community engagement, while locations in malls like the Cannon Walk target higher income shoppers. Right. Now, this shows how strategic location choices help Pick and Pay enhance visibility, they attract customers as well, and maintain long term success and sustainability within the South African retail markets. Now, going into retail space layouts. Now, let's look at Woolworths, for example. Now, Woolworths effectively applies retail space layouts and visual merchandising to enhance customer experience and reinforce its premium brand image. Because now, when you go into Woolworths, Woolworths is all about the sophisticated experience that you want to walk into the store, the atmosphere of the store, the music that is being played that is nostalgic, the placing of the premium products and the premium branding of these products, because they sell quality products. They don't sell products in terms of, when we look at it in terms of quantity, they're not that type of retail store. They sell a unified yet collective quantity of products that is very sophisticated, that is high in quality and rich in quality as well, and they use that to their advantage as well. So the company design store, right, has a three-dimensional advertisements using clean modern layouts that maximizes selling space and guidance to customer flow, which is very important for Woolworths as well. So its storefronts and window displays, they attract attention through elegant signage and seasonal themes. Now, inside, a mix of grid and freedom layouts ensures efficiency in food selections and a relaxed browsing experience in clothing areas. Like for Woolworths, this is quite impeccable. They get the competitive advantage, and they are they were the well, I can confidently say that they were the first retail store to start this, with having the the I'm gonna say supermarket, grocery store, and also implementing a clothing line within Woolworths as a whole. Same goes for Pick and Pay, because now Pick and Pay is also a convenience store. It operates as a convenience store. It operates as a grocery store as well. Excuse me, and it operates as a clothing store, which is hence you get why Pick and Pay clothing store, identifying and targeting diverse customers. That's their strategic edge and strategic advantage. You know. But going back to Woolworths, looking at Woolworths, it showcases quality and freshness, which is also part of the competitive edge. While while digital screens and self-checkout systems and online promotions integrate technology to create a dynamic, convenient shopping experience. Now, the strategic approach also strengthens customer loyalty and supports Woolworths' reputation for excellence in the South African retail space. That is quite imperative and very important for Woolworths in integrating retail operations management. So in South Africa, we're going to look at the number one most leading fashion apparel, such as Mr. Price. So Mr. Price effectively applies customers by understanding and satisfying the needs of its youth, fashion conscious markets. That is very, very important for Mr. Price. That's where they are leading within this dynamic and within this industry. Now, the company also conducts consumer research to identify who buys its products and why they also buy their products, focusing on affordability, style, and convenience. That is their competitive edge that I can say. Um, they also distinguish between customers, which are their buyers, and consumers, which are the people that use their products. So Mr. Price also designs marketing campaigns that appeal to both groups, which are buyers and consumers. Now, through the market segmentation, it targets young adults and teenagers using demographic and psychographic and behavioral data to tailor its products and promotions. So they already understand their target markets. Who are the target markets? Their target markets is basically young adults and teenagers using demographic and psychographic and behavioral data to tailor their products and promotions towards their specific target markets. Now, factors like store location, product availability, and impulse buying are carefully considered within a strategy, because now that is also very imperative. You also have to think about the target market in terms of their age wise. So this is where you'll be looking in the demographics, understanding that as the youth, they don't have like responsibilities compared to your older target markets, where they'll be very product conscious in understanding whether they need the product or whether they want the product. You get what I'm saying? The target markets within Mr. Price, they are the youth. Now, the youth is obviously very, very fashion conscious, fashion orientated, and they like clothing. They don't have responsibilities, or they don't second guess items, rather, should I say, when it comes to choosing clothing items, especially as Mr. Price, understanding that they are a stylish retailer. They are an affordable retailer, obviously, as we can see, and understanding that they also target trends and people that are who are in the trending environment or keeping up with trends are younger youth, should I say. So these are very imperative and important factors in understanding Mr. Price's target markets. Now, this customer focused approach enables Mr. Price to attract loyal shoppers and remain competitive in the South African retail environment. Now, what also gives Mr. Price's competitive edge is understanding how affordable their products are and how stylish their products are. They basically they swing in between the lower parts of customers and the higher part of customers, because it can go both ways, but majority of the target market comes from the youth, not the older people. But hence why it also makes it very much compatible with the youth in terms of price wise. Price wise, they are very good. They are very price conscious and quality conscious simultaneously, because they do also cater for the older target market, understanding that the older target market also doesn't want things that are quite affordable when it comes to apparel, when it comes to fashion. They accommodate that even in that aspects, which actually also gives them a competitive advantage in targeting that group as well. In hindsight, I don't know whether they recognize that, I don't know whether they don't, but obviously with understanding their interpretation of their sales data, I'm sure they see their target market in terms of which target markets necessarily buys more of the products as the Mr. Price apparel. So these are the four retail application theory in terms of the topics that I chose, and these are the examples that came within my research that I had discovered within these four. Understanding the innovative strategies that are being used now by competitors, understanding what is more in the market, what is more in demand, understanding what is more in demand by customers now, when it comes to the development and integration of technology in such a space and time, because now technology is at a pace where It is very rapid, very growing. Each and every single day, there's always something new that is penetrating the market, and retailers are always now keeping up to speed with what is actually trending in terms of technology integration and how retailers can actually use this as an advantage towards the competitive strategy or competitive systems, and aligning and also making sure that they are making a profit, and enhancing profits by increasing profits by using technology now, where you understand that there's an integration of now automation. There's an integration of automation where automation is also working at a rapid rate, where you have to understand that there it is non-stop, which means that it doesn't operate, when you compare it to an employee, you understand that there is cost that is, um, that is always remunerating in that manner. There's costs that are will always be there because these are costs that are required to be paid to humans, for such as remunerations, salaries, incentives, benefits, all these cost factors towards the retailer. And when you look at the implementation of automation, you understand that you'll be just paying a one-time cost, and the only thing that you'll be paying for is a reoccurring service, of these machines or these automation systems. Is depending on if you're speaking upon robotics, and if you're speaking upon the automations of, um, systems that are computerized, that are algorithmized. The only thing that you're just implementing is new learning systems and updated software systems. That's the only cost that you'll be actually facing. And understanding the IT and technological environment of software programmers, software developers, you understand that those are the basically reoccurring costs that you be, dealing with within the retail sector as time goes on. Understanding how now you be cutting costs and increasing profits, even just by shifting that as a whole within the retail operation. We haven't even started by what this automation or algorithmic systems can actually do in terms of increasing and maximizing profits to a whole, which will be a whole nother revolution even on its own in this time and manner. And now retailers are really positioning themselves in such a case now, who's going to be first in implementing and strategizing all of these, new emerging trends or integrated technology that is now occurring to the surface, which there is also a downside to it, because now there are costs and evaluations and procedures in terms of how effective can this be towards, the company or to the retailer. Understanding, will it work for the specific retailer or does it work for a different retailer? Understanding those type of dynamics, but that all comes with risk. That all comes with proper investment and understanding the investment portfolio, understanding the projections that it could bring towards the company, understanding the downside that it could bring in terms of company just wasting, let's say wasting, um, money that it had thought that it could, um, qualify within its investments, should I say. So that is my proper analysis as to how retailers are now shaping the space of this innovative, um, 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 points that we are at within life, should I say, right now as we speak. Um, and it's the unfortunate reality as to which we're currently in, and it's scary at the same time, because you understand that these systems, these algorithms, these robotics, that these automation systems that are there, they are also very, very highly unregulated. Understanding, we don't even know the measures and the capacity to which that they can exceed in. They could exceed it in a drastic measure where it just goes off the roof, where it has been unregulated, it has been not evaluated to the proper measures, it hasn't been qualified to be implemented in such a space and time, because that's the one thing that you're working against is time. Understanding that competitors are also their competitors are also looking at the same opportunities that another retailer is looking at, how they can enhance it, how they can actually improve it, how they can actually maximize profits to the best of their capabilities, because that's all what retail is about. Understanding that retailers are there to make profits and make maximize profits, and that is their core objective, regardless of what needs to be or what needs to be laid off from traditional things such as employees, the concepts of employees, and understanding how these, should I say, technologies are now being implemented. You understand the concepts of e-commerce even on its own, where going to the store and interacting with an employee or a customer was a traditional thing. Now it's all about gadgets. Now it's all about smartphones, AI, how apps now are being built, how customer does not even need to go to the store now, how products can be even brought to their own homes at their own convenience just by clicking and collecting um, items to be delivered within their homes. There's no form of human interaction, where it's just very much transactional to that degree. It's a crazy space to be in as a retailer and as a customer myself towards certain retailers that I'm also engaging in, because I'm also a human who has preferences, who also has a style and a sense of style that I want, that I adhere to, and what I prefer. You know, these are things that are now beginning to change as time goes on. So the key trends and shifts that I had found and innovations that I have observed rather was the rapid growth of online retailing and on-demand grocery. Understanding how online retail has surged from a revenue perspective in 2024 that gained revenue by 96 billion. And this is not talking about millions, it's about billions, yeah. Billions in 2024. And now is also tracking to exceed in 2025, currently within this year, as to be expected as 130 billion. That is a lot. that is a lot in the space of a year. In the space of a year from 2024 to 2025, these evaluated projections in terms of billions that I emphasize on. Billions, once again, billions. Understanding that this revenue market has grown by 36 billion from 96 to 130 in 2025. This includes the on-demand grocery service such as Checkers 6060, which is the major driver of such revenues. Understanding now that it has become such an e-commerce space where profits are hitting all-time highs, and the shift in grocery behavior from weekly big shoppers are becoming more frequent and convenience led purchases, where customers now prefer to actually interact and engage in such a manner of acquiring such products. You're also looking at global marketplaces and new entrants affecting fashion and non-essentials, such as your apps. I don't want to say classic apps, but they're not even classic because they just entered the market. But for the well-known um, emerges into the market, looking at factors such as looking at shops or retailers, such as Shane. You're looking at Temu, you're looking at Amazon, which are the new entrants into the markets that now are penetrating the markets in a diverse way. Especially pricing wise, it's just crazy. Also looking at the fact that they are an international online retailer. That even alone has created and gained a different market share and market value within the fashion and non-essential space. And they are targeting meaningful shares within the apparel of fashion and electronics online gadgets, forcing local retailers to sharpen the assortment now, their pricing and delivery competitiveness. marketing is also a huge aspect in this. Marketing is such a key driver in this, in understanding global markets and new entrants that are affecting fashion and non-essential factors. We're also going to be looking at new innovations and operational shifts, such as the micro fulfillments. The retailers convert urban spaces into high-speed fulfillment hubs to enable 60-minute delivery. Now, this is like the incorporation and the implementation of delivery hubs within the urban areas to keep and maintain and retain the promise that has been kept, that they want to deliver products within 60 minutes. It is mind blowing when you actually think about this, in understanding these trends and shifts and innovations that I have observed in understanding where we are now within 2025 as people as a whole, especially because that's the only way to look at it. And these observations are critically aligning to what I have learned, especially as a retail enthusiast, where I'm understanding now that all the key fundamental operations, or traditional operations rather, are now starting to slowly fade away. The fundamentals of retailing, they are still there, but there's a whole new aspect where there's a key driver in being innovative and bringing ideas that will create and cultivate, and produce I can't say the same outcomes, but increase such outcomes, increase customers, increase sales, increase productivity, increase the type of products that are now being sold, increasing and understanding what is in trend, what is not in trend, being competitive, because that is what it is, being competitive in each and every single dynamic and space that a retailer occupies. Understanding now that you need people who are in this space, who are very, should I say, also fashion forward, who are very in tune rather with what is actually in trend, with what is actually now in demand. You look at it in the e-commerce space, you look at it in the brick and mortar space, because that is also still another omni-channel traditional retailing aspect that is still currently ongoing and working, because you have to cater now into two different markets that are now emerging in the e-commerce space, and the market that has once been there and is still there in the brick and mortar space. Understanding how the physical store is just as important as the online store. There's no difference in terms of how important one is to another. They are both playing key vital roles as to how one accommodates the other, because there wouldn't be any e-commerce store without a retail store, and that is the key difference right there that we also need to remember, which is very a fundamental key difference in terms of understanding the importance of that. We also have to now begin to realize that a physical store cannot operate without an online store, because the physical store now carries the inventory to supply the demand that is coming from the e-commerce space, and someone needs to fulfill that demand and supply that demand. So that's why you also still need the brick and mortar stores. Otherwise, if we didn't need brick and mortar stores, then there wouldn't be the aspect of customers clicking and collecting products in store. So they will actually purchase or order products online, and they prefer to come and collect it themselves in the store. So this obviously is a convenience. Also understanding that the customer is trying to see the product themselves, trying to engage with the product themselves, which is very important as well when you look at it in that aspect. The aspect of now understanding that you also still need to advertise products. You don't look at it in the sense that now it's just an online e-commerce space, or should I say omni-channel space. then that means that you would require a distribution center. A distribution center where products are just kept within a specific facility and distributed outside. But then that aspect has to be individualized alone in the supply chain of that product. Understanding the dynamics and the logistics of the product and integrating technology in enhancing the delivery of that product, because now also online works hand in hand now within that supply and logistics chain. There has to be integrated systems or automated systems that will now quickly allow for deliveries to be made on time, especially understanding how you'd also have a collective of employees that will fulfill that order within a specific time. The picking time of that specific product, the time that it takes, the packaging of that specific product, the delivery of that specific product, because now you got to optimize GPS routes, you got to optimize routes in terms of, I'm going to say, chronological order. In order to save costs in terms of transportation, you'll be looking at fuel, you'll be looking at the types of transportation that is being used as well to fulfill that order. You'll be also looking at how to reduce the usage of transportation, but also increasing the delivery while also decreasing the use of transportation. Because now you also got to you got to be aware of the factors that can occur by you using these assets. And assets, well, I'm going to say a liability. There's wear and tear within the type of transports that you use, the capacity in which you can hold certain products, the packaging style of it as well, to accommodate all these products, to make sure that all these products are also delivered in time. Because now you also have to race it against traffic and congestion in delivering all these products. You also got to understand that the route that must be taken in delivering a certain product to the first customer that is there or close by to the distribution center. Also understanding the route that the driver must take in delivering all these other products chronologically in order to make sense, saving transportation fuel that is being consumed by the types of transportation that is being used. So there's a lot of now considerations that must be put into place in delivering and fulfilling these order placements by customers, ensuring that this parcel is arriving at the right time in the right form without it being damaged or expired. Understanding that the customer is also tracking the purchased order of how far it will arrive, or how far will it take for the product to arrive to their doorstep. And also understanding that the customer still needs to be satisfied with the product. So there's a lot that I've learned that aligns with the key trends and innovations that are now being emerged within the